What's up, y'all? You know what time it is? It's about to be that time.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Hey, who are you? I'm your clone. Who are you? My clone. Then who am I? You're not you. Well, who are you if I'm not me? I'm you. I'm not me.
Savage.
Hey everybody, Chrissy and I are back from a fun-filled weekend at New York Comic-Con with all the One Piece stuff that was going on there. The film Red premiere, which was amazing. Hanging out with all of my fellow content creators and friends, and it was just a really great weekend, which, you know, maybe that'll be saved for a different video. We are here to talk about One Piece 1062. If you missed the stream, it was at a different time. The VOD is on the second channel, link below. Everything that we expected in this chapter came to pass. The adventure in the land of science, a beautiful exploration setup chapter, exploring the island.
I mean, really? Yeah. Explore the space.
Sci-fi references galore, video game references, just that shot of the lab and the area that they're in. If you really take a look at everything that's going on there, you've got rockets. Are we going to the moon? Probably.
Almost definitely.
You've got Super Mario question marks, right?
Mushroom Kingdom, here we come!
An NES controller or an SNES controller underneath that. We've got holograms. We have photonic gloves. Could we see someone that doesn't have hockey take on Kizaru at some point? Maybe. I mean, it's very possible that he and Sentomaru show up in this arc, because I'm expecting a lot of Sabaody archipelago vibes and parallels here in this arc, because we already had all of the Thriller Bark stuff in Wano, right? But we are still, we're getting elements of Thriller Bark here as well. But even in the midst of all of this, Oda is still peppering the lore and giving us information. Bartholomew Bonnie, confirmation that Bonnie is actually Kuma's daughter. Now, we talked about this as a possibility. I was more in favor of Bonnie being Kuma's mother. I thought it would be more interesting if the Queen Dowager Connie was, you know, the real form, but that must mean that the Queen Dowager Connie is Kuma's mother, right? Bonnie's grandmother, and just when she ages up, she just looks like that. That has to be the case now, and we'll learn about the Queen Dowager when we get into an eventual Bonnie or Kuma backstory. But the big thing here to talk about is Vegapunk. One of my favorite theories about what Vegapunk was that we discussed, you know, I said that I would like if these were all proxy clones that are a hive mind.
Another one.
And now we've learned that there are actually 6 proxies of Vegapunk, creating a total of 7, right? Because there is going to be the real Dr. Vegapunk, and then the rest of these that Kaku, and we'll talk about CP0 at length in a little bit, but all of these clones that we are, you know, finding out about, these are not the Vegapunk. You see even in that shot that there's the Vegapunk and then everything else. So is that going to be Vegapunk's brain in a box? Will that be the case, or is he still alive? Just really old? Who knows? We're gonna find out though. Let's get into all of this and more. But first, like, comment, subscribe if you're feeling the vibe. Now the question here is, are all of these proxies a true hive mind, or do they have a will of their own and their own personalities? Now it does seem like they will have their own personalities, and that may be more in line with like the homunculi in Full Metal Alchemist. Now, here Lilith is considered the evil one and wants to basically stick up the Straw Hat Pirates, right? Take their riches because they are famous pirates, so expecting that they have the resources that Vegapunk wants to be able to move their creations and different things like that to a new area, a new land. Now, these are things that we've been talking about Vegapunk for years, because it just lines up with everything that we know about them. When we were in Baltimore with Frankie during 3D2Y, everything was about Vegapunk not having enough resources or money to be able to finish their projects, right? So I've always said that Vegapunk probably doesn't care about anything that the world government wants. It's all transactional. Just one for me, one for you. That's it. You want a pacifista? Great. I want to create a McDonald's. You want the Seraphim? Great. I want to be able to change the weather of this island. And now it's more about expanding all of that. Vegapunk couldn't do that on their own. The biggest problem that Vegapunk has run into is that no one has their superior intellect. So they can't just hand the blueprints to the government or a contractor and say, hey, this will help your country, go and build it, because no one's as smart as them. Frankie probably is, and we'll get into that later. But because of this, it forced Vegapunk to decide, you know what, I'm going to split my consciousness. I'm going to split my being into 7 different parts, 6 different parts. And now each one of these parts has a section of his soul, his bloodline elements, his lineage factor. Eventually we'll be introduced to Edison, who is considered the Flare. So that may be, you know, a more bombastic character than the rest of these. Lilith is very focused on getting the resources and money, and Atlas is the side of Vegapunk that is upset that no one is as smart as them. So we're going to see these elements amongst all of them once we are introduced to each one. And as we go across these exploratory chapters and everything like that, we will, of course, naturally, be introduced to the rest of them. Now, side tangent, I'm expecting one of them to be with Smoker, because that was the whole vibe and everything from Punk Hazard, and it was basically foreshadowed in the last chapter when we saw Sword and everything like that, because those kids from Punk Hazard were given a cure, and they were not on Egghead. So it's very possible that one of these proxies came to G14, figured out what this cure was, helped the kids, and then now Smoker is on his way to Egghead, and that may be the ship that we saw at the end of 1060, or is that 1059? The chapter with Blackbeard and kidnapping Kobe. At the very end, there's a ship that's approaching Egghead Port. So I think that that's Smoker's ship because it looked like a marine ship, not a government ship. So I think it's a different ship than what Cypherpole is on, because Cypherpole would be on a government ship. So Smoker and Egghead is all I'm saying. Smoker and Egghead. And he will be with one of the Vegapunks. Is Lilith a Darkstalkers reference? Darkstalkers is a video game where the character Morrigan has their soul split into 2 or 3 different pieces, and the second version of Morrigan is this other character named Lilith. So you guys can kind of look into that. I don't know if Oda's like a secret big Darkstalkers fan or anything like that, but it does seem like a lot of these Vegapunks are named after different famous beings or stars or different satellites and things like that, because obviously there's the Flare version, which is Edison. Thomas Edison was an American inventor who, you know, is credited for the light bulb, even though no one knows if he really did create half of the stuff he did. I was surprised we didn't see one of them named Tesla. We have Pythagoras, which if anybody took geometry or anything like that, the Pythagorean theorem is probably, you know, like drilled in to your minds. Atlas is a very famous figure and you'll even have seen the statues, I'm sure, of, you know, the guy holding the world on his shoulders and everything like that. So here we even see that sort of duality here with Atlas, the Vegapunk version, because they feel like the world is on their shoulders. They just want to get these Vegapunk McDonald's just out into the world, and they just can't do it. Can't do it. They just can't get their mystery meat to everybody in the world. For less than a cup of coffee a day, we could get that mystery meat out there, people. I'm most excited for Edison and Yoke.
Either man's got the yolk or man ain't got the yolk. Man's got the yolk.
We also meet Shaka, who I'm going to be calling Daft Vegapunk, because it's just basically random access memories era Daft Punk. This also makes the ties between the Kid Pirates even deeper. All of Kid's attacks have punk in them. Killer literally has like a Daft Punk mask, even though, yes, a lot of his aesthetic is the talking heads, including his laugh and his name. The mask is totally Daft Punk. What we're also seeing here is escalation of Vegapunk's, science and abilities. When they were a kid, they were using animals to help them build things because I guess they were smarter than humans. I don't know. But anyway, they had gorillas, wolves, whatever they could possibly control using, these like Cyclops visors or headsets and things like that. Now they have escalated to controlling sea kings, which is a ginormous level of escalation. Zoro wants something from Vegapunk. Now, Zoro has never indicated anything like this in the history of the story. So this is something new, something that may have come about in the time skip, conversations with Mihawk, or this, one of my favorite things that was mentioned in the stream was, does he think that Vegapunk could cure the smiles and that he can bring that back to Ebisu Town? Because he was the one who had a relationship with Tonoyasu and the town of Ebisu. Some people were saying, well, that should be Chopper's job. But Chopper really didn't have a connection to everything that was going on with the Smile Fruit users. So even though, yeah, Chopper probably should have stepped up there, the technology isn't there. So maybe it's something that Zoro thought about. I don't know. People were saying Zoro should get a lightsaber. Zoro should have his sword eat a fruit. I don't know if we're going all there, but I'm very excited to find out what it is Zoro wants. Secret Zoro arc. And I absolutely love the respect that they put on Robin in this chapter. Now, let's get into everything with CP0 and the order to kill all of the Vegapunks. Now, Atlas kind of low-diffed Luffy, even though they caught him off guard, so I don't know if Cypher Pole is going to be able to do this. But anyway, as we know, I have been calling Cypher Pole Zero the Suicide Squad for a while. They are slaves for the world government. They do not have their own justice that they can enact. They do not have their own free will. Dripper Scarfino said that to Drake. I envy you. Basically because you get to choose what you want to do. I don't have the choice. And now it doesn't seem like they have a choice either, and that seems to be why Lucci is upset. Because he probably knows what happened to Dripper and Schoolboy Guernica Collins and and Maha and everything else. Like, they're just expendable soldiers for the government. But, they're also strong too. We're gonna see some rematches here. Could be interesting, or is Oda gonna go the team-up angle? I would hope not. I want to find out that Lucci was the one that killed Cobra. I really do think that would be the best thing for the story, because we know that Lucci is a killer, and he did not get to enact that part of himself during the Water 7 Enies Lobby saga, so I would love that tie to Vivi, because we're gonna get her back into the story, and we just find that out from Lucci, and that would just make everything so much more personal. I just need that. I need that, Oda. Why would they want to kill Vegapunk, though? What did he do? There was a great comment on the Discord by Dio Di Warudo, who said, what if there is an issue with Vegapunk having made a clone of Doflamingo because he is a celestial dragon, and you cannot have a mindless god? And I really loved that. So, shout out to Dio, because that makes sense. He took royal blood, turned it into a subservient being, and then now they're just upset about that. That's an interesting angle. Will that be the case? I don't know. Maybe they just need a fall guy for everything that happened in Lulusia. So, Lucci brings that up. There has to be some sort of a tie there, some sort of an angle. It's going to be really fun to figure all of this out. The Kuma Seraphim is called a problem child. Now, this goes back to what Lilith was saying in the previous chapter in reference to the shark also being essentially a problem child, not listening to the direct orders and everything like that. Now, this Kuma looks older than the Hancock Seraphim, older than the Mihawk Seraphim. This is probably the very first one, since, he was already working with Kuma's body and everything like that. So this makes sense. Now, the difference here, Kuma doesn't have white hair, but still has the wings, so it was probably the first step towards splicing Lunarian DNA, so it wasn't, completely there. Kuma, as we knew him, was an adult. He was 47, I think. This looks like a 20-year-old Kuma. This one looks like he was cooking for 5 years, and we know that. 5 years to get a 20-year-old soldier. So this is probably the very first one, was probably made at Punk Hazard before they made the move to Egghead after Caesar blew everything up. So that's why there's more issues with this one than maybe with the others. But I think we're going to run into an issue just like with these cloned proxies of Vegapunk, where they all kind of want their own free will. They all want their own desire. Even though they're all part of the same being, they all want individuality. Will we see a Megazord Voltron moment with all of the Vegapunks essentially docking into one giant mech, and that's like the villain of the arc, like the final battle? You know, something, you know, like a la Oars. Brandon King was talking about, you know, a lot of different things like that, and I think that that would be, you know, the way to get there. Where do we go from here? 1063 expectations. Shaka, Daft Vegapunk, said that he has an interest in the Straw Hat crew, right? So he wants Lilith to bring them to him. So I think that that's going to be part of what we're going to get into. I don't think that they're actually going to arrive on Egghead until either like the end of the chapter or, you know, really explore things until like 1064. But we're going to start that move. I expect to meet another Vegapunk. So whether that's the one that is with Smoker, so we could get Smoker in 1063. I'm fully expecting to see another Vegapunk in the next chapter, and probably with Smoker. I want the confirmation that Smoker was the person that was on that ship heading to Egghead Port, because I don't think we get through this arc without Smoker being involved. If I had to guess, it's either going to be Pythagoras or Edison with Smoker. I don't think Yoke would be the one over there because they're just desire, but Pythagoras is wisdom, Edison is flair, so, you know, that just makes more sense to me. I think there has to be some sort of fighting that occurs in the next chapter, whether that's, you know, the crew versus the Sea Kings for a little bit, or Luffy versus Atlas. I think we're due for some fighting. I don't think Oda can go too many strings of chapters without some sort of an interaction, so this is going to be like the sumo fight of the arc. To put it into, you know, Wano Act 1 perspectives. And hopefully there's just some more references. Obviously, there's a tie to like Astro Boy and even Mega Man / Roll with Atlas. We're seeing Super Mario references, Back to the Future references. Obviously, anything with robots is a Terminator reference. Kuma himself is a Terminator reference, and Smoker alone was like the first embodiment in the series of something that emulated Arnold Schwarzenegger, so that's why I want him in the arc as well. You know, and then Oda just took it to another level with Kuma. I'm eating. This is a super fun arc. I'm excited. A shout out to everybody that supports the channel, everybody that comes to the streams, everything like that. Shout out to the new members, Danny Stevens, to Sights, Mark Creasy, Enigma Sword, and Keys of Spades all rejoined. New members Jaden Fan 94, Harrison Case, Huey SF, Taylor, King D 1718, Captain Crespo, Turt, Carl Ravel, Tristan Lewis, and returning members Assad Ishmael, Neswan Us, Michael Lacoste, and Shane Laforêt for upgrading. Appreciate all you guys. We're back 1063 at our normal time on Friday. And like, comment, subscribe if you're feeling the vibe, people. I'll catch you soon. Later.
I've been swimming deep, deep. Savage.